Senate Bill 2223 would remove the sales tax on clothing in the state of North Dakota. And the original bill came with an appropriation that would keep political subdivisions whole because they share in a certain percentage of that sales tax effort. But testimony in committee, Mr. President, was from all the people that spoke in favor of this is that it was a great idea, and so an amendment was proposed to remove the appropriation that would go back to political subs, and that's what this amendment does. It removes that $9.5 million appropriation, and so there would be no fiscal note on the bill after the amendment is approved.
Senator Sinner.
Well, Mr. President, first, I believe that the carrier did a nice job of explaining the bill. He didn't really explain why they're proposing this amendment. And I'd like to ask that question of the carrier if he would explain why this amendment came forward.
Senator Elke, you care to respond?
Well, Mr. President, I thought I did mention that during my testimony. During the testimony that we heard from various people that testified on this bill in particular, they thought it was a wonderful idea because it would give them a competitive equilibrium in some cases, and especially in certain areas of the state where perhaps across a river or across a state line they either have no sales tax or have a no sales tax on clothing, and so this would make them more on an even keel. In fact, cities were very much behind this as well, and there wasn't any testimony really, Mr. President, that where someone came from a city and said, gee, we like this idea and we really like having the $9.5 million our share of that back too. They didn't really address that. What they addressed was the competitive advantage that they would get. So, Mr. President, the amendment was offered by one of the committee members because of that very statement and that very condition that if this is a good idea, it should be a good idea on its own without having reimbursement back to those cities and other political subs that enjoy that condition now.
Senator Sinner.
Mr. President, I'd like to respond to the carrier's comments about why this amendment came forward. First, I believe that there was one testifier at the hearing that stated that it would help increase business in those communities, but that I believe that the communities losing that tax revenue from that local sales tax would be a dramatic cut in their revenues. In this case, $9.5 million over 2 years. Second, I believe that it is my understanding that chairmen of standing committees follow certain unwritten rules about how they run their committees. Normally, they do not amend bills that are against the sponsor's wishes without first notifying the sponsor and giving the sponsor an opportunity to address that amendment. That did not happen in this case. Further, I know what happened here would never happen to a member of the chairman's own party or a member of a statewide office holder. Further, it is my understanding that there is another unwritten rule that committees will not move to amend a bill that will make it less acceptable to the body to get passed, or in other words, make it less desirable to the people of this great state, and then come in with a do not pass on the bill. So, Mr. President, what I believe is going on here is nothing more than a tactic to give cover to those who want to vote against this bill, instead of the bill that was sponsored. Why else would you amend this bill as it is and then give it a do not pass? If you are against the bill, you are against giving sales tax exemptions on clothing, then state why you are against that. But don't come in and amend the bill and make it less desirable for the body. Mr. President, this amendment should be rejected, and let the members of this body vote, have the opportunity to vote on the bill as it was sponsored. I urge a red light on this amendment. Thank you.
Senator Cook.
Well, Mr. President, I had my light on after the senator from District 46 raised his first question. I was prepared to answer that question, but after the last comments, I'm just going to say, wherever he gets his understanding, it's obviously a wrong understanding, and I'll let leadership take care of whatever problem he has with the way I run my committee. Mr. Chairman, as far as what I did to the committee, I offered the amendments, and I told the senator from District 46 I was going to offer him right outside this door some time ago. The reason we offer these amendments, Mr. President, we have a long-standing relationship between the state and local government's sales tax base. It is the same. What the state taxes, local governments can tax. What the state does not tax, local governments cannot tax. We have never gone down the road of exempting something from the tax base and then appropriating money to keep local government whole for the revenue they lose. If it's good for the state not to tax clothing, it is good for local government. And that is a road we do not want to go down. Mr. President, I'd urge that we pass these amendments, and then I would urge that we give a red light to the bill.
Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, the question will be on to Senator Schneider.
Mr. President, can we have a recorded roll call vote in the amendments?
We will have a recorded roll call vote on the amendment. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, the Secretary will open the key and every member register their vote. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change his or her vote? Secretary will close the key and take the tally. Tally reveals 32 senators voting yea, 14 voting nay, 1 absent not voting. The amendment has been adopted. Senate Bill 2223 will be placed on the 11th order. Next bill.
Meet tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. in the Fort Lincoln room.
Earlier in the session this afternoon, the motivations of a chairman of one of our standing committees was called into question. The President would like to read from Section 124, Paragraph 3 of Mason's Legislative Manual on Mason's Manual of Legislative Procedure. It says, "It is not the person, but the measure that is the subject of debate, and it is not allowable to arraign the motives of a member, but the nature or consequences of a measure may be condemned in strong terms." Senator Klein.
Well, Mr. President, your Committee on Industry, Business, and Labor will meet at 3 o'clock this afternoon. And, Mr. President, I move the absent member be excused.
Second.
Questions on the motion of Senator Klein? As many are in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion's carried. Senator Klein, Senator Schneider has his speak button on.
Mr. President, I appreciate the President's recitation of Mason's. Just if we may be on the fourth order, Mr. President, just very briefly.
We may.
Mr. President, I didn't see the comments of any senator today as being directed towards any one person. I think they were procedural in nature more than anything, and certainly not a breach of comity in this body. So I appreciate the President's comments. Thank you.
We all want to maintain decorum in the Senate. Senator Klein.
Mr. President, I move the Senate be on the 5th, 9th,